In the uneasy calm after World War II, as the people of Scotland tried to stitch their lives back together, a new terror began to brew, one that wasn't born in the chaos of war, but in the silence of a man's mind. He didn't march through cities or fly planes into battlefields. He strolled through ordinary neighborhoods, wore clean shirts, spoke with measured calm, and carried with him something far more dangerous than any weapon: calculated cruelty. His name was Peter Manuel, and before his reign of terror ended, 8 people would be brutally murdered, a nation would be paralyzed in fear, and justice itself would tremble in his presence. Peter Manuel was born in New York in 1927, the child of Scottish immigrants. His family moved back to the UK while he was still a boy. From early on, Peter was different, not in the way troubled boys are often misunderstood, but in a way that made those around him uncomfortable. There was something absent in his eyes when he was confronted. Something void. He showed signs of defiance, control, manipulation. As a teenager, he was arrested repeatedly for theft and sexual assault. Despite these early warnings, he often escaped serious consequences. He lied convincingly, manipulated adults, and convinced the courts he was more misguided than malicious. He was let go time and again, and each time, something darker grew inside him, something patient. The killings began on a cold January day in 1956. Anne Nylands, just 17 years old, was walking home when Peter spotted her. What happened next was nothing short of monstrous. He beat her to death with an iron bar and left her body near the East Kilbride golf course. The police questioned Manuel, but without evidence and under pressure from his confident denial, they released him. No one knew it at the time, but that single decision gave a murderer permission to kill again. He wouldn't wait long. On September 17, 1956, he broke into the Watt family home in High Burnside. Peter Watt was away on business, but his wife Marion, their teenage daughter Vivian, and his sister Margaret Brown were all inside. Manuel entered silently and killed them each, one by one, as they slept. The brutality of the act stunned the police. But what followed was even more shocking. Peter Watt himself, the grieving husband and father, was arrested and charged with the crime. An innocent man was jailed while the real killer smirked in the shadows, free to watch the pain he had caused. In the months that followed, Manuel stalked his next victims. In 1957, he killed Sidney Dunn, a man he had met by chance. Then he found Isabel Cook. A bright 17-year-old girl, she vanished on her walk to school. For over a year, her fate remained a mystery. No trace, no clues, no hope. Her parents were left with nothing but silence. Peter buried her body in a field and returned often to the spot. It was as though visiting her grave gave him power. Later, he would admit that he liked knowing where she was when no one else did. And then came the most horrific of all his crimes, the slaughter of the Smart family in 1958. Peter didn't just kill 3 people in one night, he moved into their home afterward. He lived there for days, reading newspapers, eating meals, sleeping in their beds. He even fed the family's cat. While neighbors and police scrambled to find the missing family, Manuel wore their clothes, used their cutlery, and watched from inside the house. He drove their car through Glasgow, casually using the stolen money to buy drinks at bars, acting as if nothing had happened. By now, the public was terrified. Communities locked their doors and windows at night. The press called it a modern reign of terror. Police were under immense pressure. Still, Manuel stayed ahead. He understood how the system worked, and how to bend it. He watched the panic, and it fed his ego. He knew people feared him, and he liked it. But arrogance breeds mistakes. A stolen banknote used at a pub was traced back to the Smart family. This small oversight finally cracked open the case. Police moved quickly. Peter Manuel was arrested, but he didn't flinch. Instead, he smiled. At the trial, the nightmare only deepened. In a move that stunned the legal world, Manuel chose to represent himself in court. For over a month, he stood before the courtroom, not as a remorseful man, but as a cold tactician. He cross-examined witnesses, challenged the prosecution, and spun stories designed to confuse the jury. But his most chilling moment came when he calmly confessed to multiple murders, without emotion. He detailed how he followed his victims, how he waited, and how he killed. It wasn't regret he offered, it was performance. He stood there, a man devoid of empathy, describing human lives as if they were items crossed off a list. The jury deliberated for just over an hour before delivering their verdict. Guilty. On July 11, 1958, Peter Manuel was hanged at Barlinnie Prison. He was one of the last prisoners in Scotland to be executed by hanging. For some, his death brought closure. For others, it brought no relief, only the cold reminder of how close evil can get without being seen. Peter Manuel's crimes didn't just end lives, they shattered trust in institutions. They exposed the flaws in law enforcement, the dangers of overlooking early warning signs, and the horrifying reality that the most dangerous predators often were the calmest faces. His story lingers not just because of the number of his victims, but because of the way he looked into the eyes of justice and laughed. Even now, decades later, his name is spoken with unease. The streets he walked are still there, the homes still stand, but the fear he created echoes through the years. Scotland would never be the same. And in the annals of true crime, Peter Manuel remains one of the darkest figures the country has ever known.